Meet me under the gazebo in precisely 10 minutes. Alice Kingsley, will you be my wife?
Well, this is happening so quickly, I think I need a moment.
There is a place, like no place on earth. Some say to survive it, you need to be as mad as a hatter. Which, luckily, I am. Alice, it's you. You're back. Alice!
Alice!
Really, Alice? You're absolutely Alice. I'd know you anywhere. You're all late for tea!
Alice has returned to Wonderland.
Since you've been gone, the Red Queen has taken over all of Wonderland.
Find her!
Help us make the world right again.
Oh, my God! I need a pig here. I love a warm pig belly for my aching feet. Stop that. We have our champion.
Hold on tightly.
This is impossible.
Only if you believe it is.
Welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we're taking a look at the three films that kick off March 2010, March 5th to be exact. And of course our first one is the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Disney's Alice in Wonderland. Of course the film that was the first of many, many live-action Disney animated classics brought to life on the big screen. Live-action remakes of Disney animated classics brought to life on the big screen. But also this was also the first 3D release since Avatar came out. The first big digital 3D release, so that meant that after 2.5 months of having Avatar in theaters as the lone digital 3D offering for people, we're going to start getting into a trend of other studios coming in and saying, hey, Fox, you aren't the only ones who can make digital 3D. Some will be successful, others not so much. But Alice in Wonderland was certainly a big success in general in a number of different ways. And as I said before, this is where you have Alice, now 19 years old, accidentally returning to Underland, which is now the name of it, a place she previously visited 13 years ago, and she is told that she's the only one that can slay the Jabberwocky, a dragon controlled by the Red Queen. You also have Anne Hathaway as the, I guess the White Queen, because she's literally dressed in white, but you also have other characters, some played by Crispin Glover. You have a couple of notable characters from the story, Tweedledum, many, many other characters as well, and, yeah, this is a very interesting movie indeed. While I was watching the first 15 minutes, I got kind of bored by it. I thought they were very hollow until the magic started to happen. Kind of like with Where the Wild Things Are. The film didn't really get going, and that film didn't get going until we left for the island. We left to go to the island, and then the first 10 minutes in here, they're bad, but then again, it's not as bad as Where the Wild Things Are. But you know, once we get to Alice going down the rabbit hole, and suddenly she's back in the place where she was before in Wonderland. It's just like then the movie starts to get going, and it is a fun movie overall. I thought my four favorite characters overall were Alice, played very well by Mia Wasikowska, who's going to have another great movie later in the year where the kids are all right. I thought the Mad Hatter overall wasn't bad in here. Johnny Depp I thought was pretty good. The White Queen, played by Anne Hathaway, is pretty good. Probably my favorite character of all was the Cheshire Cat, Stephen Fry, who really just knocked it out of the park, man. I mean, he was the one that I liked the most. Calming, strange looking, and I saw this in 3D, and in 3D, he looked pretty badass in 3D. I mean, you can see why he's all over the marketing, especially towards the end there. But, and, you know, I saw it in 3D, and I think in 3D it looks pretty cool. When I got to watch it afterwards at home, it really lost a lot of the fun that was in the 3D version of it. I mean, the 3D version was, I think, the more fun version to watch of this, having the things coming at you, and it's done very well overall. But lost my train of thought there for a second. But I mean, it's not a bad movie overall. Like when I did my top ranking the best or worst Disney live-action remakes, I think I had this at number 10. Like, it was very much in the top 10 overall. There's lots of things I liked about it, lots of things I didn't like about it, but overall, it's good. It's good for what it is. I mean, it certainly is a lot better than the sequel that came out later on down the road, and it was a good jumping point for Disney's direction with the live-action remakes that they have coming up here. These are movies that are not necessarily going to be movies that are going to try to take over the classic animated movies. They're basically just cover songs. They're cover songs and try to do something unique and different with them. And I thought it worked over here for the most part. It's not the best overall, but it certainly is up there. It certainly is much better than some of the lesser Disney live-action remakes, and certainly is a lot better than some of the ones the other one that Tim Burton will later do in the decade with Dumbo. But yeah, overall slow to pick up at first, but when it got going, it was pretty fun to watch overall. The 3D version I think is the best version. 2D, not so much, but I enjoyed it overall regardless. So anyway, that's Alice in Wonderland. So let's go ahead and take a look at the movie that had the balls to go up against it and kind of succeeded. Not really, but certainly did much better than most people would have expected. Antoine Fuqua's latest film, Brooklyn's Finest.
From the director of Training Day.
This is your first day, kid. You got 20 years of days. This job takes enough out of you. Don't take it home.
I love you.
My God.
Richard Gere, Don Cheadle, Ethan Hawke, and Wesley Snipes.
This street's got an expiration date on it.
Life is too short.
Look me in the eyes.
Who worked this out?
Brooklyn's Finest, directed by Antoine Fuqua. Rated R. Starts March 5th.
In Brooklyn, amid drug deals, violence, casual racism, poverty, housing projects, and corrupt cops, pretty much everything in the book, pretty much, we follow three officers, Tango, African-American, working undercover, believing he's earned a promotion to get a desk job, but told he has to set up to the bust of an ex-con who saved his life. Sal, who'll commit murder to get cash, and Eddie, the precinct's older beat cop, a week to go before retirement, assigned to mentor an earnest rookie. Can this end well for any of the three? It's a cop thriller, directed by Antoine Fuqua. You take a guess and see what happens, but overall, it's actually not that bad. Wesley Snipes was most notable in here because this was actually his first widely released film since 2004, and if I remember right, this is actually the film he did. He did this, and then he got arrested for tax evasion. Yeah, 2008 this happened, so this would have been right after they were filming this movie. He was essentially charged and then sentenced to 3 years in prison, which he did, and he finished it, and he got out in 2013, and lo and behold, he was just seen recently in Deadpool and Wolverine. So, hey, he did the time. So, but he's pretty. Everybody in here is pretty good. Richard Gere's pretty good in here too. It's good to see him back in a more dramatic role like this. Don Cheadle, Ethan Hawke, you can never go wrong with them. I love the fact that the trailer made you think this was like a sequel to Training Day, because it's literally Ethan Hawke, and he was in that movie. And it only been, 9 years since that movie came out, so it wouldn't have been that surprising at all if they tried to sell this as a Training Day sequel, which it definitely is not. But, like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's actually a good movie overall. And again, another decent film from Overture Films. Overture Films, I kind of give them a bad rap early on, but we did put out some good stuff overall, ones that are definitely worth checking out. It's definitely one I highly recommend checking out. I like Antoine Fuqua's work a lot. I think that helps in my enjoyment of it too, because he's such a good director. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie. I can't recommend it enough. Brooklyn's Finest, definitely must check out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, which coincidentally on this weekend, it was competing with some of the big animated features of the year for the Best Animated Feature Oscar, and that is, of course, The Secret of Kells.
You must go where I cannot. Pangerbon, Pangerbon, Nils a sail struck you. It's me, Batman, you. Shall be you.
So young Brendan lives in a remote medieval outpost under siege from barbarian raids, but a new life of adventure beckons when a celebrated master illuminator arrives from the Isle of Iona carrying an ancient but unfinished book, brimming with secret weapons and wisdom and powers. To help complete the magical book, Brendan has to overcome his deepest fears on a dangerous quest that takes him into the enchanted forest where mythical creatures hide. It is here that he meets the fairy Ailing, played by, who plays this woman? This young girl, I should say, Kristen Mooney. And the kid is played by Evan McGuire, and the real big name in here is Brendan Gleeson, who plays Abbott Selleck. But he finds Ailing, a mysterious young wolf girl who helps him along the way. But with the barbarians closing in, will Brendan's determination and artistic vision illuminate the darkness and show that enlightenment is the best fortification against evil? This is a very good movie, and this is a film that I swear when I first saw it, I thought it was done by the same people who did Samurai Jack, Gendy Tartakovsky and his crew, but nope, this is not them at all. In fact, the most notable thing they did before this was, of all things, Skunk Fu, which is not a good sign at all, but they have definitely gone on to do much better things. Of course, after this, they did Song of the Sea, The Breadwinner, Wolf Walkers. Their most recent film was My Father's Dragon, but they were also behind some animated movies, some animated things you might be familiar with. They did the Little Ellen TV show for Max. They did If You Give a Mouse a Cookie for Amazon. They did the Cuphead show for Netflix. And most recently, they did the Bob's Burgers movie, which I don't need to tell you where that came from and how much I enjoy that movie. So yeah, they definitely have some notable projects involved in them. And yeah, this is a really, really cool-looking movie. It has a nice visual style to it. It really doesn't feel like it's worthy of a big screen appearance when you really look at it. And then again, maybe it's because I watched it on television for the first time, because it never made it to my theater around here. But the movie itself is overall really good. You do get invested in the storyline of these two characters, and in this adventure that they're going on, and you do get invested in the adventures they're going on as well. It's a really engaging movie. It's a really well-made film, animated beautifully. The studio is Cartoon Saloon, which I've mentioned some of their stuff before, but I mean, they did a pretty good job of making this work in their first major film project, and they wanted to do more movies like this. And I haven't seen the other ones, but it really makes me want to go watch those ones. So, yeah, can't recommend this one enough. The Secret of Kells. Definitely seek it out if you're looking for some good underrated animation. This one's definitely worth a watch.
You're off reservation for a reason. What is it? I came here to find weapons and save lives. There's a problem with the intelligence. You want to know what truth is? Gotta find Magellan. You set up whatever you need to set up. I'm bringing him in. Magellan's the best source we ever had. Stay out of this, Miller. Something's going on here. Put your game face on. I know what you did. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Go! Take me out. I'm bringing you in.
Green Zone, rated R, in theaters March 12th.
Welcome to Time About the Movies, where today we're taking a look at the 4 films released on March 12, 2010. And that's our first movie that we have here, Paul Greengrass's latest film, Green Zone. The key players in this film are General Muhammad Al-Rawi, played by Yigal Nayo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing these names right, so bear with me. Who is hiding in Baghdad during the invasion of Iraq, and U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer Roy Miller, played by Matt Damon, who's a mobile exploitation team leader searching for Iraqi weapons of mass destruction. Miller finds that the majority of the intel given to him is inaccurate. His efforts to find the true story about the weapons are blocked by the U.S. Department of Defense official Clark Poundstone, played by Greg Kinnear, and the cast also includes names like Brendan Gleeson, Amy Ryan, Khalid Abdallah, and Jason Isaacs. So you got a lot of good people in here. You got a good cast, a good director in Paul Greengrass coming off of the Bourne movies, and Brian Helgeland, who is an Academy Award-winning writer. I mean, the guy has, there's a lot of things about this movie that should work, and for the most part, it does. It's a very good war movie. It's a very good film that you do get invested in. The action sequences overall are top-notch. The storytelling is very good. And there's a lot of things about it that do work in general. It's a very good movie about the story of the Green Zone in Baghdad during the invasion of Iraq. And the big question I think a lot of people were wondering here is that why the hell did you release this in March? Like, this feels like a movie that should be contending for Oscars, honestly, but Universal kind of dumped it out in March in general, and I'm starting to realize that Universal was on kind of a rough stretch during this point in time. I mean, they had a couple of movies that were not big successes. I don't think they really had a huge... I think the last big success they had at that point was Fast and Furious in April of 2009, but I could be wrong on that, but I think between Fast and Furious and then the summertime when they had Despicable Me, they had like flop after flop after flop, and Universal was kind of in a rough stretch at that point. And this is one of those movies where I think just bad placement in the release schedule really hurt it in the long run. Not to mention they spent $40 million on the marketing plus $100 million on the budget. Yeah, this thing was never going to make its money back in the month of March, and it only ended up making $94 million worldwide. And that's a shame, because the movie actually isn't that bad. It's actually a very enjoyable, well-made film. I think it is a very good film, and I think it works because all the actors are game, and it does a very good job of giving you the feeling that you're in this invasion that they're involved in. And yeah, it's no Hurt Locker, it's no The Kingdom, but it certainly is a lot better than I think people will give it credit for. It's definitely a movie that I would say is one you want to check out. It's a very underrated Paul Greengrass film. Definitely one worth checking out. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Jay Baruchel starring in his first leading role as a comedic actor. That is She's Out of My League.
Nailed it.
I brought a girl with me. Please don't be a jerk.
Hey, everybody.
Are you a hooker?
Dylan.
Or a prostitute, I mean?
No.
There's a million examples of guys like Kirky ending up with beautiful women.
Such as?
The president of France and that girl that went out with Mick Jagger.
He knows about wine, and he can probably French kiss like a mother.
She's Out of My League. Rated R. In theaters everywhere March 12th.
Trust me when I tell you, that scene at the end there, when they show why no one wants to date this woman, is really one of the stupidest things ever. And yeah, it's not one of the stupidest endings we'll see this weekend, but this is She's Out of My League, where you have a security guard named Kirk, played by Jay Baruchel, who meets a smart, sexy, and charming girl named Molly, played by Alice Eve, in one of her first film roles here. I think she actually had done... This might be her first overall movie role in general, because I think she's from the UK. She might have been in some stuff in the UK, too. I can't remember for certain, but she was a newcomer when this came out, and she loses her iPhone on an airplane, and she doesn't know, and Kirk doesn't know how a girl like her would be invested in a guy like him, and he turns to his friends and family for advice, to little or no success. And this is one of those movies where, one thing I was kind of attached to it because it was shot in Pittsburgh. I'm not too far away from the city. I mean, we're about 30 minutes away, so yeah, I get attached to movies like this. Groundhog Day, Adventureland, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, even not so great movies like Striking Distance and Innocent Blood are movies where it's just like, yeah, the movies aren't good. Inspector Gadget's another example that, yeah, the movies aren't good, but seeing the city back in the day, seeing Pittsburgh back in the day, and what it looked like back then, I kind of got a soft spot for it. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, yeah, I know it's not going to be worth it, but it's worth it just to see the city in general on the big screen like that. But the movie itself is very mixed. I thought the film overall was just kind of like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. There's a lot of good moments in the movie, but at the same time, a lot of moments in here don't really work all that well. Like when Kirk meets Molly's parents for the first time, and like, it just, it's weird. Like the movie, like, it's, to quote Lonely Island, it's basically, it's basically what happens is jizz in your pants. I mean, that's if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, because that scene just goes on and on and on, and it does not end. Like, it's one of those things where the movie just gets so ridiculously long and just pointless. It's just like, wrap it up already. The trailer stopped it at the right time, but no, this thing goes on for like twice as long as it does in the trailer, and it drags. It drags so hard in this, and the family of Kirk was just way too cruel to these people. I mean, his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, played by Lindsay Sloan, is someone I did not like at all. Like, in the end, they throw in this, again, it's a very pointless action sequence where one of the cars that takes you around the airport, she takes one of the cars that takes you around the airport, and she gets punched, and it's just like, at that point, like, I don't advocate hitting women or anything like that, but that's one of those times where it's just like, it's one of the few times I would say, goddamn right, you better hit that bitch, because she got so on your nerves so quickly, and, like, she was just too much of a bitch to deal with, and I just can't handle people like that. I hate people like that in movies, where it's just like, you're supposed to not hit women and all that type of stuff, but no, that's the type of person that you beat up so she gets some sense knocked into her. Again, I am not in support of beating any women up. Don't even start those rumors about me. But I am not in that camp at all. But the other characters overall were really not that special. Nate Torrance from the Get Smart movies. I mean, I didn't really like him because it seemed like they were setting it up for like a bigger subplot in the movie, some kind of conflict, and it never goes anywhere, man. It never really goes anywhere in particular. I just felt like what do we even do? Why was that even in there? But again, there are good moments in here. The two lead stars I thought worked very well. I thought Jay Baruchel and Alice Heath had a lot of good chemistry together. I like T.J. Miller. You know, this is back when T.J. Miller was actually kind of likable and actually can be funny. Mike Vogel, who were both of them were in Cloverfield. I thought they were good. Kristen Ritter was a very good actress in that movie. To me, I think one of the biggest things that really hurt the film overall was the fact that there's a whole scene in the whole reason that the whole purpose of the movie is to figure out why would this beautiful young woman go with this nerdy guy in the end? Like, what's the reason? Like, what does he think the reason is? Well, that scene at the end of that commercial you saw leads into a scene where we find out that she has web feet. And for some reason, that's the reason why they got to have the third act breakup. And it's just kind of like, really? That's where we're going with this? I mean, I know people that have web feet, and it's not really that big of a deal, guys. It's just like, but, like, the way they set it up here, they set it up like this is like the equivalent of, like, the fact that, she's banging somebody behind his back, like she's having an affair with her. It's just like, no, it's not that at all, but it's just kind of like, and that's part of the problem with the movie in general. It wants to be this raunchy comedy on the same level of something like a Judd Apatow movie, but it's missing that extra caveat that makes it stand out and gives us something that makes sense, first of all, and does not have stupid elements like, I'm breaking up with you because you have web feet, you ugly person. He didn't really say that, but it just kind of feels that way. But it's a very mixed bag of a movie. I went in there expecting something like an I Love You Man, which came out the year before, which was done very well, and I didn't get that. The movie isn't bad per se. I thought the performances for the most part were good. It's nice to see the city of Pittsburgh on the big screen, but the story really needed another lift to it. It really needed another element to it to give it a unique edge to it. But it really kills me to see that story so underwhelmingly put together, because this is written by the same guys who did the movie Sex Drive. Sex Drive was a terrific film. Sex Drive was a good movie. It was one of those underrated raunchy comedies that kind of came and went. But this, not so much. This is a movie made by a major studio. It has more recognizable names in it. And you could tell they were trying to do something unique and different. And it just didn't work, unfortunately. So, mixed bag of an opinion. I didn't like the movie, but I didn't hate it either. I just felt very underwhelmed by the end result of it. So that's how she's out of my league. So let's go ahead and move on to the big daddy of them all. The worst movie this weekend. One of the worst movies of the year. Not even bad for the movie itself, but just for the way that it had the balls to try to do something at the end where it's just like, oh, screw you. This is Robert Pattinson in Remember Me.
Date sociology majors.
I'm undecided.
About what?
Everything. This girl, her life seeped into me.
My dad doesn't know what's going on right now.
You're kind of lost, aren't you? I'm not going anywhere. If I knew you could hear me, I would say our fingerprints don't fade from the lives we touch.
Remember Me, rated PG-13, in theaters March 12th.
So in Remember Me, this is a romantic drama set in New York City where you have a man named Tyler, who's a rebellious young guy, and he meets a girl named Allie, played by Emile de Raven of Lost fame, through a twist of fate. Her spirit helps him heal after a family tragedy, though soon the circumstances that brought them together threaten to tear them apart. Now, a lot of the reasons for this movie being so bad is not all the way around. The overall movie itself, it's just kind of bland and generic, and you know, we know that Robert Pattinson can act. I mean, we've seen it in Tenet, we've seen it in The Batman, we saw it recently with Mickey 17, but, you know, the thought was that once you take him out of Twilight, the acting chops are going to come back into full force here, and not in this movie. I mean, he proved it in this film that he had no acting chops or charisma whatsoever. He's kind of sleepwalking through this performance where he's just getting by off of his good looks, and that's it. And at the time, when you watch him in this movie, he's just a plank of wood. He's worse than a plank of wood. Plank from Ed and Nettie could act better than this guy did. I mean, he was up there with Henry Cavill in terms of actors with no acting chops whatsoever. But then again, the other actors aren't doing a bad job either. I mean, it's just bad material given to them. you know, the whole thing is about, you know, with Emil de Raven's fine here, Chris Cooper pretty much channeling the same character from American Beauty. I mean, he's pretty much the same thing. He's like the abusive father. And Pierce Brosnan, I mean, you thought Mamma Mia was him overacting and going a little too over the top. Wait until you get a load of this.
Who the hell do you think you're talking to? You pedal down here on your bike, for Christ's sake. You're gonna take care of nothing. You're responsible for no one. You're a kid. You think you're the first one to lose anything? You think that whatever you feel in your heart, I don't also feel it in mine?
Had to take that from the Spill review. But you get the idea. Like, the guy is just... Like, it's overacting meets underacting in that scene in particular, because you got Pierce Brosnan going like, "Who the hell do you think you're talking to? Let me go ahead and raise my voice so you know how serious I am," because raising your voice clearly shows how serious you are in that situation. But the overall script overall is not helping them either. It's your typical melodramatic drama that you would see in a Lifetime movie. I swear, if it didn't have the actors in this movie, this would have been something you would have seen on Lifetime as the movie of the week. But let's just get to the biggest problem with the movie, the nitty-gritty about why this movie is as bad as it is. And the movie has, without a doubt, the absolute worst ending for a movie you will ever see in your entire life. So, the father of Tyler, played by Pierce Brosnan, drops his younger sister off, Carolyn, at his school. She sits in a classroom where the teacher writes the name on the blackboard. I specifically forgot to mention in this plot synopsis that this takes place in the summer of 2001. Not the summer of 2001, well, pretty much the summer of 2001, but then she writes the date on the board, and it says September 11th, 2001. Your first thought to yourself is, they're not going to do what I think they're going to do here, are they? And then the very next scene is Robert Pattinson looking out the window of his father's office, which is revealed to be the location of the 101st floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center, and once the 9/11 terrorist attacks begin, the rest of the family looks at the towers before the camera pans over the rubble, showing Tyler's diary in a voiceover that says that he revealed to Michael that he loves him, his father, of course, Michael, and he forgives him for killing himself. Tyler is buried next to Michael. Actually, that's... Michael wasn't the name of his father. No, it's not the name of his father. Get this. Let me just go ahead and read this again, because there was a subplot in the... There was a thing earlier in the movie where, you know, the girl that he's talking... is the girl that he meets, Emil de Raven, Allie. You know, she has a tattoo of her brother Michael. And, you know, we find out that Michael and Tyler were brothers, and Tyler reveals to Michael that he loves him, and he forgives him for killing himself, and Tyler is buried next to Michael. And then sometime later, Caroline and Charles seem to have a healthy father-daughter relationship. Aiden, who has since gotten a tattoo of Tyler's name on his arm, is working hard in school as Allie gets on the subway at the same spot where her mother was killed. I'm sorry, but no. Hell no. If I could channel Tracy Morgan from Cop Out earlier in the week, no. No. Hell no. No. I refuse. No. No. Like, you do not get to use a tragic event like September 11th for not one, but two cheap emotional ploys. I mean, mother of God. This is the reason why this movie is terrible. This movie is so lazy that it has to resort to using such a horrendous event in our country's history as a manipulative emotional ploy. Fuck that shit. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot use September 11th as the centerpiece of a story, but have a purpose to it being there. We've had movies about the September 11th attacks. World Trade Center, United 93, great movies. We've had movies centering around the storyline involving the 9/11 attacks. 25th Hour, Reign Over Me, great movies. What they do here is so despicable and so pathetic. This movie fails so miserably because it ends on the most heinous and most disheartening way to get an emotional impact out of you. Excuse me. A good story should never have to rely on such a tragic day in our history to get a cheap emotional ploy out of you. The story itself should just do that. And that just means that the scriptwriter, this Jenny Lumet, the daughter of Sidney Lumet, by the way, has no intention on ending this on a good enough note and just did it because they got lazy or the studio forced them to do it, which, let's be honest, it's Summon Entertainment. This is the company that literally is this... It's the place the Twilight built, and if you had seen some of their bad movies they put out that year, which there was a lot of them, that's probably what ended up happening. But That's the reason why this is one of the worst movies ever made. This movie is so unbelievably bad just for that moment there. The first 3/4 of the movie are just a bland, lame, melodramatic drama, but it's that final act that just destroys any hope this movie had of becoming something relevant or something that's watchable, using a historical event as a cheap emotional ploy. Just, ugh. I'm getting frustrated just thinking about how bad it is. Like, that's how you know you fucked up big time, when you have to resort to that level of idiocy, stupidity. Just, God, I hate this movie so much. I hate this movie so much. Remember Me is a bad film, one of the worst movies of that decade, and yeah, it's just a bad movie. Just a bad movie. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is Carlos Mencia and Forest Whitaker starring in the comedy Our Family Wedding.
Your parents are gonna love me. They'll love me because I love you.
This is Lucia.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi, Angel.
And this is her family.
Give me the keys to the other truck. I'll tow the cars myself.
You know you don't pedal with your feet anymore, right? Times have changed.
This is Marcus.
What's up, Pops?
And this is his family.
Hey, stop. That's my car.
It's on the hook.
I got here before you had it on the hook. Oh, what? You don't understand English?
El vato dice bye-bye.
Now, their two worlds are about to collide.
You towed my car.
What's the big deal, brother?
Brother, I'm not your brother, hombre.
Hombre,
Dad,
really?
Yes.
We're getting married.
What? Yep. We are. Yay.
Just wait till you meet him.
Buenos dias.
Comedy.
Oh, Fox Searchlight, we expect so much better from you. Not to mention this comes 1 year after the last movie that they did that was more of a mainstream raunchy comedy in Miss March came out. Fox Searchlight doesn't make movies like this. This is the type of movie you would expect solely from 20th Century Fox to put out, but nope. Fox Searchlight came in and said, "We'll take it from you. I mean, we've had so many great movies on our namesake. We need a couple of bad movies here and there, and this is definitely one of those really, really bad ones." So, as you see from the trailer there, it follows an African-American man played by Lance Gross and a Mexican-American woman, America Ferrera from Ugly Betty, getting married and their respective fathers, Forest Whitaker and Carlos Mencia, causing hijinks with one another towards their special day. Why? All because Carlos Mencia towed his father's car. I wish I was kidding, but that's literally what happens in this movie. This movie is literally just a retread of Father of the Bride, except replace Steve Martin with Carlos Mencia and Forest Whitaker in it, and it's just like, it's literally that movie. And they did another Father of the Bride remake later on that was a Latino-based remake with Andy Garcia as the father in that movie. But it's just like this movie just really fell apart pretty quickly, and Carlos Mencia, God bless the guy, he's trying. I mean, Mind of Mencia wasn't that bad of a show, and he did show potential as a comedic actor, but man, this movie is just everything that you hate about Carlos Mencia and then some. What's Forest Whitaker doing in here? He's an Academy Award-winning actor, for God's sake. Hell, why is America Ferrera in here? She's one of the hottest young stars in Ugly Betty. Why is Regina King in here? Why is Charlie Murphy involved in here? Why is the director of Roll Bounce making this movie? Why is the guy who just gave us Captain America Brave New World writing the script for this? Why? You'll be saying that a lot during this movie. That's how terrible this movie is. It's a lazy comedy, and you know exactly where it's going to go. These two dads are going to do whatever they can to stop the wedding from happening, and essentially that's going to lead to, them having a big third act breakup, and then they have to come together at the end to sing Kumbaya and all that type of stuff, and just get the hell out of here with that shit. Just enough of this already, man. It's just a disappointment. It's a terrible movie. It's not funny. It's not creative. It wastes so much good talent here. And you expect so much better from Fox Searchlight. I mean, I don't know what was going on between this and the year before, because they made some terrible movies. Miss March. I think they were also behind Postgrad 2, Amelia, that terrible Hilary Swank biopic. Just, you don't expect bad movies from Fox Searchlight often, but in that span between March 2009 and March 2010, apparently they were on the track of making some bad movies, and boy, did they make some really bad movies. So yeah, Yeah, so I think you pretty much got the idea here. Our family wedding is not worth seeing, so avoid that one like the plague.
Are you sure you don't want me to walk you in?
Mom! Okay.
Mom. Have a great day, sweetie pie! Let me just say for the record that middle school is the dumbest idea ever invented. This place is an intellectual wasteland. You got kids like me who haven't hit their growth spurt yet, mixed in with gorillas who have to shave twice a day.
Based on the best-selling book. Don't talk to anyone, don't look at anyone, don't sit down.
So not happening.
Who am I kidding? You'll be dead or homeschooled by the end of the year anyway.
Thank you for those words of motivational wisdom.
20th Century Fox presents Greg.
Our girls say that Bryce Anderson has a cute butt. A butt can't be cute. It's a butt. There's Bryce. Just be cool. Hey, Bryce. Yeah, hey, Bryce. Cute butt.
Rowley.
This one, pre-bird. It was a present from my mom. Well, then your mom is trying to get you killed.
Patty.
Make your meal! She's a girl. Where do I grab her?
Sherrod.
Stop! You almost got the cheese duck.
Fredley.
Want to see my secret freckle? Yeah! It's got a hair in it.
Roderick.
What did I tell you would happen if you ever went in my room again? I'm going to kill you.
Right!
Let go, baby hippo!
Manny. And Coach Malone.
You guys are going to be shirts, and you will be skins.
Why are we skins? He's just trying to make kids like us feel bad. What do you mean kids like us?
My name is Val E. Button. What's yours?
Comedy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Time About the Movies. Today we're taking a look at the films of March 19th, 2010, and wouldn't you believe that we have not one, but two of the worst movies that I have ever seen in my entire life to kick this show off. We have our first film right here, number 23 on my list of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Based off, of course, of the children's books of the same name. And to Greg Hefferly, middle school is the dumbest idea ever invented. It's a place rigged with hundreds of social landmines, not the least of which are morons, wedgies, swirlies, bullies, lunchtime banishment to the cafeteria floor, and a festering piece of cheese with nuclear cooties. To survive the never-ending ordeal and attain the recognition and status he feels he so richly deserves, Greg devises an endless series of can't-miss schemes, all of which, of course, go awry. And he gets it all down on paper via a diary. It's not a diary, it's a journal, Greg insists, preferring the less sissified designation filled with his opinions, thoughts, and tales of family trials and tribulations and would-be schoolyard triumphs. One day when I'm famous, I'll have better things to do than answer people's stupid questions all day. So was born the Wimpy Kid's Diary. Yeah, as you pretty much already know, I've covered this in great detail. I've talked about this one in, no, I don't think I covered this in the top 20, in the worst movies I've seen in the last 20 years, but I have covered this in detail on the top 30 worst movies list. So if you want to hear my full thoughts on that, I'll leave a link to it up in the corner so you can go check that out. But what more do I got to say about this film that I have already said? Like, this movie is terrible. This is a god-awful movie, and I like the books overall. I like the books because I like the cartoon designs. I thought maybe if you made it into an animated movie, this could turn out great, and luckily they did make these into animated movies. They were great animated movies on Disney+. I thought they were a whole lot better than these god-awful live-action movies. You don't like anybody in this movie. You don't like the kid. He has the main kid in here who has the worst luck in the world. His best friend ruins every plan he has. A girl consistently beats the shit out of him. His brother's a dick. His parents are assholes. I mean, they're basically the stock parents who are just like, oh, we love our son, and we're gonna show that we love him, even though we're gonna embarrass his ass at school all the time. You know, he gets blamed for stuff he doesn't even do. He has to deal with a freaky kid with hair on one of his freckles. And the fact that this movie has the nerve to go to side with everybody but him. No, I'm sorry. He has it right because everyone around him are just assholes. They're complete and utter assholes. And I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for anybody in this movie. I hated everybody in here. I hate all the characters. I don't like the way the actors are being forced into here. It's a terrible movie. The only person who comes out of this relatively unscathed is Chloe Moretz, who is going to have a really good year because next month she'll be starring in Kick-Ass, which that'll get to show a lot more of her talents overall. But this It's a bad Nickelodeon TV movie blown up for the big screen. I've gone into greater detail about this film in particular, so if you want to hear my thoughts on that, once again, link in the corner, link in the description below. So with that said, let's go ahead and delve into the next movie we have here. Another movie that I've talked in great length about how much I hate it. Gerard Butler and Jennifer Aniston starring in The Bounty Hunter.
You're telling me to go pick up my ex-wife and bring her to jail?
From the director of Hitch.
You're a bounty hunter.
You have got to be kidding me! You cannot be serious!
I won't even break a sweat.
Keep your enemies close.
There's a black SUV that's been following us. They may want to kill me.
What the hell have you got yourself into?
Now you're interested.
Keep your ex.
You trying to seduce me?
Yeah.
Closer.
That's the hardest thing about me. That would be my gun.
The Bounty Hunter. In theaters March 19th.
Once again, I've kind of touched on this movie in the past already, so if you want to see my full thoughts on this movie and how much I hate this, there's a link in the corner, link down in the description. But The Bounty Hunter. Gerard Butler stars as a struggling bounty hunter, and Jennifer Aniston is his bail-jumping ex-wife. And much to his glee, he gets to go ahead and take her in. And of course, it begins this crazy, wacky adventure where they have to go. She has to take him in, and then there's this big subplot about these guys that are coming after her, and it's a terrible movie. It's a god-awful movie, and it just doesn't work because everybody in, again, kind of like with Die With Wimpy Kid, everybody in here is so stupid. Even the people I like in here, Gerard Butler and Jennifer Aniston, and the director Andy Tennant, they couldn't save this movie. This whole thing is a colossal clusterfuck. I mean, the script overall is all over the place, and the climax at the end of the movie, the decision he makes at the end of the movie, where he takes her in, but he decides, he loves her so much, he's gonna go punch a cop so he can spend the rest of his life in jail. I'm sorry, but no, I'm not buying into that bullshit. Like, this is a terrible movie. This is a god-awful film. Again, I've gone into greater details about this, so, I mean, I don't want to go ahead and delve into this again, but, hey, if you want to see my thoughts on this movie again, once again, link up there. Link up there. So how about we get to some movies that are not god-awful, or at least this first one's not great, but certainly a lot better than the last two films we covered. Let's go ahead and dive into Repo Men.
That's my department. Their job was to repossess organs. Pretty impressive, boys. Until he needed one.
No time at all. You're going to be back on your game. You're going to be knocking them down.
On March 19, falling behind on payment. Everyone wants a piece of him. Now he's yours.
What are you going to do?
Finish this. Repo Man. Rated R. In theaters March 19th.
Sadly, this is not the far superior 1984 Alex Cox-directed movie starring Emilio Estevez. No. This is another Repo Man. And before I go on here, I said last week, on the last episode, that Universal didn't have any big successes between Fast and Furious and the last movie they put out, Green Zone. I was incorrect on that. There were a couple of successes in there. Couples Retreat was a big success for them. There was one other movie, I had it now, I can't remember what it was, but there was another movie here. Let me just double check here. Inglourious Bastards was the film I was talking about. So yeah, Inglourious Bastards and Couples Retreat, and it's complicated too. So they had 3 movies that were successes, but then again, 3 out of 19 movies is definitely not a good score whatsoever, and that's not even the end of it, because yeah, there's a couple movies we're going to get to in the rest of the year that were not big successes at all. Regardless of how good they were not big successes. But anyway, I wanted to get that cleared out of the way before we get into this. But Repo Man is based off the novel The Repossession Mafia, where you follow a repo man played by Jude Law, who goes on the run after he becomes the recipient of an artificial heart and finds himself suffering the same fate as his victims. You see Forrest Whitaker as his partner in this, Lee Shriver, Alice Braga, and Carice Van Houten from Game of Thrones, which coincidentally, the director of this, Miguel Sapochnik, has gone on to become a much more well-known television director than a film director, as he's only directed one movie besides this called Finch, which I've never heard of before, but he's gone on to have much bigger success with Game of Thrones, House, Fringe, bunch of television shows. You've probably seen his work before, but yeah, as far as this film goes, it has a good idea to it, but it really is a film that's kind of being trying too hard to be the next Total Recall. It's a movie that's kind of like a mix between Total Recall and Equilibrium, and it just doesn't work either way. It takes what could be a really good premise overall and just kind of half-asses it pretty much. There's nothing about the movie that makes it stand out. Even the look of the movie isn't all that great. I mean, it's a film that just looks like a generic futuristic movie. And by the way, the future is 2025, so yeah, 15 years later. Aren't you able to buy an artificial heart? No, you're not. Because once again, nothing like this has happened since then. I mean, there might have been attempts to try to do it, but nothing successful. And just kind of like this movie, nothing successful came from it. It's a pretty lame movie. It's a lousy film. The action's not even that great either. The casting overall is fine, but nothing spectacular. But there's just nothing there, man. It's a boring, bland movie, and it just doesn't work. There's nothing about it that makes it worth it in the end. And you're just sitting there, just like, come on, get on with it or something. Good Lord, you've been holding this off here for so long. It's just like, just do something, like, you know, like Spaceballs. Do something, like that. But no, the film never does anything like that. It just slows down a formulaic route, and it ends on just such a whimper of a note. What a lousy movie this is. Repo Men, complete garbage. A film that had so much potential to it, and it just didn't work. So yeah. Repo Men, you're better off not even bothering with it. So, let's finally get to some good stuff, finally. We're starting to slowly but surely make our way to there. And we certainly can say that about our next movie. That is definitely a much better movie than the three that we've already looked at. Kristen Stewart and Dakota Fanning starring in The Runaways.
Rock and roll. There's a first time for everything.
I'm Joan Jett. I want to start an all-girl rock band. You know how many new bands think they're going to make it?
Well, excuse me, but I don't want to work at the Pup and Fries for the rest of my life.
We did it.
We got signed?
Based on a true story.
The Runaways have the most chance of any group I've seen to tear this world apart.
They made history the only way they knew how. On their own. The Runaways, rated R, opens March 19th.
Based off the true story of the Runaways band, it depicts the formation of the band in 1975 and focuses on the relationship between Cherry Curley, played by Dakota Fanning, and Joan Jett, played by Kristen Stewart, until Curry's departure from the band. Of course, Joan Jett went on to become part of rock and roll history, and this is a great movie. This is a film that, you know, I've been talking about. This is a film where, you know, Kristen Stewart can act. She's actually a good actor, and she definitely proves it in this movie. Yeah, the Twilight movies brought them down big time, and even Dakota Fanning, who is in the Twilight movies, like, it just goes to show you how bad those movies are, because when you see them in other projects, you see that those people from that movie can act and actually can be good. Perfect example here. They're both, Kristen Stewart and Dakota Fanning are both great in this. Michael Shannon has a really good role in here playing Kim Fowley. You also got Riley Keough, Scott Taylor Compton, Alia Shawkat, Keira O'Donnell, Tatum O'Neal. You know, a good cast overall here. A really good, engaging storyline, and, you know, great rock and roll music all around. I mean, this is a great, great movie. It's a really well-made film, a really good biopic. You know, it definitely doesn't go for the safe and marketable way, which is something I've been hating for on a number of years with the music biopics. But here's one where, you know, they go in on it, and it plays it very well. It's a really good movie, very underrated biopic, and one that I highly recommend checking out. The Runaways, definitely one to seek out. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to my personal favorite film of the entire week, and that is the first film in Stieg Larsson's Dragon Tattoo trilogy. Here's the one that started it all, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I keep calling it the Dragon Tattoo trilogy, but there's been more of these movies, and more of these books, I should say. So I guess technically it's the Millennium series, if you want to go about down it right. But You have 40 years ago, Harriet Wenger disappeared from a family gathering on the island owned and inhabited by the powerful Wenger clan. Her body was never found, and her beloved uncle is convinced she was murdered and that the killer is a member of his own tightly knit but dysfunctional family. He employs disgraced investigative reporter Mikael Blomkvist, played by who plays him here? Michael Nyquist, and the tattooed and troubled yet resourceful computer hacker Elizabeth Salander, played by Noomi Rapace, to investigate. When the pair link Harriet's disappearance to a number of grotesque murders from almost 40 years ago, they begin to unravel a dark and appalling family history, but the Wengers are a secretive clan, and Blomkvist and Salander are about to find out just how far they are prepared to go to protect themselves. I wasn't really watching a lot of foreign language films at this point in time. The only ones I saw were Pan's Labyrinth and The Orphanage, both great movies, but when I saw how popular this book was, and I knew that they were going to do a remake with David Fincher at the helm of it, I had to see the movie for myself, and I read the book too. I was really invested with this because everyone said the book overall was really good, and I can easily say this is a really damn good adaptation of the book. The people in here play the characters very well. They're well acted. Michael Nyquist and Noomi Rapace are great in this. The gothic visual look of the film is fantastic, and it follows the book very well. And these films in general, you know, they released all three of them in the course of this year, and they are all really damn good movies, and they're good adaptations of the story. You know, they're good at representations of the book themselves. I mean, these are really good movies and really well made. And it's interesting that all three of these movies have already been made at this point when this made it to the U.S., and yet they're all by different directors too. So this is the first one here is directed by Niels Arden Oplev, and I think the next two are directed by who's directing the who did the other ones? Now I need to see. Second one's done by Daniel Alfredson, and the third one's also directed by Daniel Alfredson. So, but yeah, this is a really good movie. This is one I highly recommend. It's one of the best movies I saw in 2010. It's a terrific film. I can't recommend it enough. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, great movie. Will later be made into a just as good version by David Fincher the year later, but this is one I highly recommend checking out. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Easily my favorite film of this whole week. That doesn't mean our last movie's bad either. Ben Stiller starring in Greenberg, directed by Noah Baumbach.
Hey, Greenberg, what are you doing these days?
Right now, I'm really trying to do nothing for a while.
That's great.
Critics are raving. Youth is wasted on the earth.
I'd go, life is wasted on people.
Greenberg has a soul, a heart, and a sense of humor.
I'm really kind of an ugly bro.
Like a loose bandage.
It's Ben Stiller like you've never seen it. From the director of The Squid and the Whale.
It's huge. You finally embraced the life you never planned on.
Greenberg, rated R. In theaters Friday.
The story centers around this woman named Florence, played by Greta Gerwig. She's considerate, sweet, pretty, and terrific with kids and dogs. She's 25, a personal assistant to an LA family that's on vacation, and her boss's brother comes in from New York City fresh from a stay in an asylum to take care of the house. He's Roger, played by Ben Stiller. A 40-year-old carpenter gone from LA for 15 years, he arrives, doesn't drive, and needs Florence's help, especially with the family dog. He's also connected with former bandmates, 2 men and 1 woman, with whom he has a history. He overanalyzes, has a short fuse, and doesn't laugh at himself easily. As he navigates past and present, he is his own saboteur. And what of Florence? Is Roger one more responsibility for her, or something else? You know, Stiller and Gerwig are part of a great cast that also includes Reese Ifans, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Mark Duplass from The League, Merritt Weaver, Chris Messina. This is the first real movie that I saw Brie Larson in. Juno Temple, one of her early film roles, Jake Paltrow, Dave Franco, and of course Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach would later go on to write Barbie. Of course, she would go on to direct Barbie in general, Little Women as well. What was the other one? Lady Bird. These are a lot of good people involved in this movie, and it's a chance for Ben Stiller to show that he's more than just a comedic actor and showing more of what he could do outside the comedy genre. I mean, we're going to see more of that in the years down the road. In fact, by this time tonight, as I'm recording this, I'm going to do, as the review network talks about, takes a look at The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, Ben Stiller's directorial effort after I think it was after Tropic Thunder, but I'm going to talk more about that later on. But Ben Stiller has gone on to become a pretty good person and entertainer in general. Not just as a good comedian, but he can also tackle all these different genres. I mean, you see what he can do with the dramatic aspects with the show Severance. He's working on the Twilight Zone movie that they just announced this week, and you know, he did he did stuff like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, these movies that don't seem like typical comedies. I mean, he's branching out, and he shows in this movie he's got a lot of what it takes to make it work, and it really does show a lot of what he's capable of doing as a filmmaker and as an actor in here, and he's really good. Everybody in here is really good in this. It's a really good film. It's one I highly recommend checking out. It's a lot of good, mostly benefiting on the performances. Very different performances from a lot of people in here. It's a terrific film. It's one that not a lot of people talk about. It wasn't the big hit when it came out. It kind of came and went. But it is definitely one to seek out and find, especially if you like Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig's other works. This is definitely one you want to check out. Greenberg, can't recommend this one enough. I'm feeling a whole lot better now because we got through the rough stuff. We ended on a good note.
Vikings have always fought dragons.
Look at that thing! The size of my head! Get it off!
But he has another idea.
Nice dragon. Okay.
On March 26th.
I've decided I don't want to fight dragons.
You really had me going there, son.
Their world
What are you gonna do?
Something stupid.
will never be the same.
You're crazy. I like that.
DreamWorks How to Train Your Dragon in 3D. Rated PG. March 26th.
Welcome to Time About the Movies, and as I said before, this is probably one of the best, this is probably arguably the best week for movies in 2010, and maybe one of the best weeks for movies ever, because we got 4 really good movies on March 26, 2010 that were released. All really good movies, and let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and easily, probably my favorite of the bunch, that is How to Train Your Dragon. Based off the series of books of the same name, this is DreamWorks Animation's latest film, and it follows the story of a mythical Viking world where a young Viking teenager named Hiccup, played by Jay Baruchel, aspires to follow his tribe's tradition of becoming a dragon slayer. After finally capturing his first dragon and with his chance at last of gaining the tribe's acceptance, he finds that he no longer wants to kill the dragon and instead befriends it. That dragon, of course, is this guy right over here. This little guy right here, Toothless. I have my plush that I had from the last movie review I did for How to Train Your Dragon 3, but I can't find it anywhere. So just pretend that this is him, because yeah, as you can see, I really do love this movie. It's to the point where I bought merchandise like this, and I showed you the plush I got at Walmart a couple of days ago, which I'll show you that now if you didn't see that. See, just picked this up at Walmart a couple of days ago for $10. It's, of course, for the new movie, which is coming out not but a couple of days after this gets posted. The first time you'll see this posted, but excuse me. But if you're watching this after the fact, you probably don't know. But yeah, this is coming out a couple of days before the new movie comes out. But overall, yeah, this movie is one where it's one that I really love the hell out of it. I'll be honest, when I first saw the trailers for it, I didn't really get excited for it or anything. I mean, it didn't really wow me when those trailers came out. But I felt kind of the same way about Toy Story 3, and we all saw what happened with Toy Story 3 later on. I didn't think the trailers for those movies in particular were really that incredible or really that amazing, but then again, this is Chris Sanders. Chris Sanders is, of course, the guy who gave us Lilo and Stitch, and also Dean DeBlois, who also did Lilo and Stitch, and also is working on the new live-action remake. But when it comes to these type of movies, Chris Sanders really is that guy who can take something that doesn't seem like it should work and just create some memorable characters out of all the movies that he's involved in. I mean, Lilo and Stitch, you know, Stitch is one of my is my favorite Disney character. How to Train Your Dragon, well, you got this guy right here, this little guy right here. The Croods, great characters in that movie. Even The Call of the Wild, which did not get the best reception overall. I mean, that movie is great to me. I really like that one a lot, especially because you do get invested in Buck overall, the dog in that movie. Even though he's CG, there's still a lot about him to admire because Chris Sanders is putting a lot of the work into that. And at this point, DreamWorks had never made a really terrible movie. The only exception was Shark Tale, which I've talked about before, but this movie really is one of the strongest movies that they've ever done. I mean, there's so much to admire about the movie. The animation, the visuals are incredible. The voice work is really good. I mean, you cannot get a better cast for this than Jay Baruchel as Hiccup, America Ferrera as Astrid. You know, you got T.J. Miller, Kristen Wiig, Christopher Mintz-Plasse as the other kids, Gerard Butler as his father, Craig Ferguson as why am I blanking on his name? The guy Nick Frost plays in the remake. Gobbler the blacksmith in that movie, and you know, just an incredible cast overall. Great characters overall. The characters in this are just so memorable and so very well done. The 3D in this movie, it's absolutely incredible. The 3D in this movie, the flying sequences in here, still take my breath away even after all these years. Like, watching this on a big screen and seeing those 3D flying scenes for the first time, it just really felt like you were in there. Like, you felt like you were on a ride at Universal Studios, which, it really, that's what it really felt like. And I really don't think this new movie coming up this week really is going to do all that. I mean, I have my trepidations about it, but this was a movie that shows why animation just works, and I don't think the live-action remake coming up is going to be able to hold a cake compared to what this movie did. You also like the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless. I mean, the villagers call him the Night Fury, but Hiccup calls him Toothless, and that really is the crux that holds this movie together. Their relationship in the movie and how they slowly but surely start to come together, and they immediately connect with one another. I mean, it's hard to believe that this is right up there with some of Pixar's best work. I mean, this is right when Pixar was just a film away from starting its slight downfall with Cars 2 the following year. But this was the first movie that really showed that DreamWorks could make a really good movie to be up there with Pixar in general. And they did a great job with this film. This is a great movie. The movie is just a ton of fun. It's kick-ass. The 3D is amazing. There's so much to enjoy about it. It's one of the best animated films they've ever done, and at the beginning of one of the best trilogies they've ever done. The trilogy as a whole is great. It's a lot of fun. It's a really enjoyable series of films, and it's just, what more can I say, man? How to Train Your Dragon is a great, great movie, plain and simple. So I'm gonna go put him away, but in the meantime, watch this trailer for the next movie we have here.
A typical road trip weekend consists of partying, hooking up, and going wild. But in 2010, 4 friends will discover a new level of awesome.
Go.
All right. Look, what are we gonna do? You guys are terrible at quarters. Let's break into a school or steal a cop car or something, huh? You have Ritalin? What?
Guys, come look at this. You don't think it's a little weird, a bunch of guys just piling up in a big bathtub together? It's called male bonding, okay? Haven't you ever seen Wild Hogs? Watch out, here I come.
What the hell happened last night? Is there some kind of retro thing going on this weekend?
There's something going on in here. Dude is rocking this that place. Let's do this. I'm sure there's a good explanation for all this. Jerry girl! Excuse me, miss. What color is Michael Jackson?
Black?
Yeah, Fast 86.
I don't understand how we back in time.
I'm so scared.
Must be some kind of hot tub time machine.
And that was the moment when they realized, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a title. Hot Tub Time Machines, coming less than a year after The Hangover, essentially kind of began this new trend of, like, the road trip movie where things go wrong in a different way, like the modern era of that, not like the vacation movies in general. But Hot Tub Time Machine, as the story here tells you, 4 guy friends played by John Cusack, Clark Duke, Craig Robinson, and Rob Corddry, all of them bored with their adult lives, travel back to their respective 80s heydays, thanks to a time-bending hot tub. Chevy Chase plays a hot tub repairman who's kind of like the mythical, like the mythical expertise on this whole situation. And I mean, the trailers overall really won me over. This is like kind of the opposite of what Hot Tub Time Machine did. Like, right from the get-go, that first trailer that was shown at Comic-Con, it was just like, it was really looking like a really funny movie, but then it kind of felt like it was going on it was getting worried about, I was getting worried that it was going to fall down the same pathway as something like a Snakes on a Plane, which thank God that didn't do that, because this is definitely no Snakes on a Plane. This movie is absolutely hilarious. This is a terrifically funny movie, a refreshing take on its concept that, it didn't even rip off The Hangover per se. Like, this is a film that really is such a good, fun time overall. You buy into the camaraderie between all 4 of these characters. John Cusack, Clark Duke, Rob Corddry, and Craig Robinson each get a chance to shine in this movie. The concept overall is really good. I love the fact that they changed time so much that you have no idea what the hell's going to happen. Like, one of the great scenes in the movie is when Rob Corddry makes a bet with a guy that, the Washington Redskins won't make it to the Super Bowl because not the Washington Redskins, the Cleveland Browns won't make the Super Bowl because, it's 1987, and, Ernest Biner's going to fumble the football. But in this movie, because they're back in time now and they've changed things, now that's it. Now it actually happens. So Cleveland fans, if you want to ever see a Super Bowl in your life, find a way to get into this alternate universe that Hot Tub Time Machine is in. But yeah, Rob Corddry and Craig Robinson overall really do get to work well in this movie. They finally get a chance to show what they can do. They're not just characters that are seen on The Daily Show or The Office where they're just the side characters. They get a chance to shine, and they're fucking hilarious in this movie, man. Chevy Chase, like I said, was really good as the Hot Tub Repairman, too. Like, it's great to see him in here. This is directed by Steve Pink, who made Accepted, and written by the guys who did Sex Drive, and also they were doing they did another movie recently that I kind of gave him smack for. She's Out of My League, which just came out a couple weeks ago, actually. But this is definitely the Sex Drive John Morris and Sean Anders, more than the She's Out of My League John Morris and Sean Anders team. But regardless, yeah, Hot Tub Time Machine is just a hilarious comedy. I love the fact that they say, F the rules of time travel. We're going to do whatever we want, and we're not even going to question it at all. Like, you might want to change your future for the better life, like what Corddry's character does in this movie, and it doesn't really matter. It's like the opposite of what Back to the Future does. It's just like, don't change anything, don't talk to anyone, don't touch anything, don't look at anything, don't interact with anyone, and try not to look at anything. Like, this movie says, fuck that shit, we're going to do whatever the hell we want, and it paid off big time. Hot Tub Time Machine is just a ton of fun, man. One of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and one that has sadly not had the same reception as it had back in the day. I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't get the same love and respect that it does nowadays, but I don't know. Maybe it does, and I'm just not seeing it, but it's definitely worth checking out. And even the sequel's not that bad, honestly. It's a comedy sequel, but one of the better comedy sequels, I'll say, So anyway, yeah, that's Hot Tub Time Machine. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, which is Chloe.
Hello? Hey, Catherine. I'm going to be a little late.
Who are you on with?
One of my students.
Usually meet with women. Couples, yes. What's her name? It's Chloe. What's she want to make?
So for those of you out there who had that fantasy of Karen from Mean Girls banging Clarice from Hannibal, you get it in this movie, and then some. And I'm selling it like that's the main focus of the film, which honestly, it kind of is, but there is a good erotic thriller in here. You have the story of Julianne Moore as Catherine and Liam Neeson as David. She's a doctor, he's a professor. They're at first glance the perfect couple, happily married with a talented teenage son. They appear to have the perfect life. But when David misses a flight and his surprise birthday party, Catherine's long-simmering suspicions rise to the surface. Suspecting infidelity, she desires to hire an escort to seduce her husband to test his loyalty, and she finds herself directing Chloe, played by Amanda Seyfried's encounters with David, and Chloe's end of the bargain is to report back. The description is becoming increasingly graphic as the meetings multiply. And this is directed by Adam McGoyan, and Adam McGoyan had a couple of movies that weren't big successes overall, like Where the Truth Lies and Adoration, but this is the guy that did stuff like The Adjuster, Exotica, The Sweet Hereafter, great movies overall, and this, to me, I think is his best overall film. Not for the obvious reason that you think it is, but yeah, it is something where it's just like, yeah, it suckers you in just on that notion that Julianne Moore and Amanda Seyfried have an intense lesbian love sex scene in this, and it does work very well here. But then again, but on top of that, but besides that, you got a lot of really good actors in here. I mean, Amanda Seyfried, if you had not thought her hot is up until now, this is a movie that definitely proves that she's definitely very, very hot in this, hot actress indeed. And you do buy the relationship between Liam Neeson and Julianne Moore. I found it interesting that Liam Neeson, this was the film that he was making when, he lost his wife, Natasha Richardson, in a ski accident, and they shut down the film, and Liam Neeson basically came back came back and decided to go ahead and do this, and he finished his performance in 2 days, and it really doesn't feel like he lost a beat. What is when they were making this? Like, it really did feel like it was a Liam Neeson performance, and he does a very good job in here. Amanda Seyfried's very good in here too, playing off of both of them. You also have a cast that also includes Max Thoreau from The Pacifier, Nina Dobrev, who was coming into her own with The Vampire Diaries, As I said, this is directed by Adam McGoyan. The writer of this is Aaron Cressida Wilson, who's written a lot of stuff we've talked about before in the past and present. Produced by Ivan Reitman. Ivan Reitman, this is a producer of his Montecito Picture Company. A very different film from his normal stuff, indeed. But it's a great movie. It really is a great film. It's one of the few erotic thrillers that doesn't feel like a film that is literally being sold strictly on the TNA. It actually does give you an engaging storyline and keeps you on the edge of your seat overall, and it does keep you invested in how this is going to transpire. Like, the sex is there, but it's not the main selling point of the movie. There actually is a good story here and there, but then again, the sex that does sell here does work in its favor, but it's a really good movie. It's a film that I think is definitely worth checking out, and yeah, it's definitely something that you'll get more of your money's worth if you go into it with the right mindset, so there you go. That's my thoughts on Chloe. So let's go ahead and wrap this up with my second favorite movie of the entire weekend. It's one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen in my life. It's Disney's Waking Sleeping Beauty.
So here it starts. You start establishing the rhythm. Clams pick it up, and oysters, lobsters, whatever.
At the Walt Disney Studios from 1984 to 1994, a perfect storm of people and circumstances changed the face of animation forever. But it almost never happened.
Here it is, April 9th, 1980. This is the past to all you folks out there, and we're going to go inside and see what it's like. Come on. Revisions. 100 drawings go in the trash.
The fact is that the last couple of animated movies made were not particularly good.
That year, we were beat out at the box office by the Care Bears movie. We knew we hit rock bottom when the studio told us that we were being kicked out of our own building.
I think after that meeting, we all kind of said, we're going to make great films.
The work was intense, the hours were long, and there was only one thing that could stop it all: margaritas.
This crew is the best crew. Can you really do what you want to do in animation?
We have to do it in this company. That is our legacy.
From the producer of The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast comes the true story of the players.
Hi, Tim. This is Tim Burton. And who are you? I'm John Lasseter. He's the cameraman.
And the passion.
The real heartbeat of this company was, is, and will always be the film business.
That fueled one of the greatest comebacks in entertainment history.
And the winner is Beauty and the Beast.
Told by the people who were actually there.
We were a group of artists living the dream. We went from hitting rock bottom to creating the most successful films ever. This is the story of how we got there.
Waking Sleeping Beauty.
This really is one of the best documentaries you will ever see, and if you're a big avid Disney animation fan, this is definitely one that is indeed worth checking out. As you can tell from the trailer, it's a documentary covering the history of the Walt Disney Feature Animation Studios from 1984 to 1994, covering the rise of a period referred to as the Disney Renaissance. It basically shows how they went from going from flop after flop to making some of the greatest animated films of all time, including The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and of course The Lion King, and the bumpy roads that they've had to come across in that period. Don Hahn, who of course was one of the producers on Beauty and the Beast, as well as The Lion King, directs, produces, and narrates the documentary, with many of the Disney personnel working at the time, including Michael Eisner, Peter Schneider, Roy E. Disney, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and many, many others. And what's interesting about this documentary in particular that hadn't been done in most other documentaries per se was the fact that they don't use on-camera interviews. They rely primarily on archival interviews, press kit footage, in progress and completed footage from the films being covered, and personal films and videos shot often against the company policy by the employees of the animation studios. And there's times where even the animators themselves will go in and animate specific elements towards the movie, which, you know, it leads to a lot of great stuff in case. Like, for example, I've got the DVD right here. I keep this downstairs because I want to watch this every once in a while, and so I keep the DVD in here. But inside of here, they have one of the things I'm talking about. They have, like, there's one scene there's a scene in the documentary in particular where, you know, Howard Ashman's talking to the guys who's directing Beauty and the Beast, and Howard Ashman wanted to do the story about how the Beast, the origin story for the Beast in general, and, you know, you know, Howard Ashman thought this was going to be like a heartbreaking moment in general. Like, he really was emotional about this whole thing. But then you get to the directors, and they're just kind of like, this is the stupidest thing ever. This guy looks like the Beast, because the Beast looked like Eddie Munster from the Munsters. And when they went into the session with him, they basically told Howard Ashman what he didn't want to hear, and he literally he had a shit fit against them, to the point where at the end of the thing they show like a clip of what happened when the director spoke up and Howard Ashman lost his mind, and it was pretty much this. I mean, that's literally a scene from the film in general, and it says here on the back, Howard Ashman excoriates director Kirk Wise and Gary Trousdale during a tough story meeting on Beauty and the Beast, as drawn by Kirk Wise from the documentary Waking Sleeping Beauty. That's what it says on the back right there. I don't even know if I used that word right, but you get the idea. And what's great about this documentary overall is that it tells you a lot of stuff that even if back when this was coming out, you probably didn't know too much about. Like, you didn't know the fact that, you know, all these different directors kept getting taken off of the early projects. You know, there was a revolt at the Disney studios whenever the animation studios shut down, and when they were basically going to, you know, shut down they were going to change the name of Basil Baker Street to The Great Mouse Detective, to the point where Jeopardy actually had a category satirizing that. And, you know, there's great little pieces of archival footage. Like, one of the things that really stood out to me, you've seen a little bit in that trailer, was when Diane Sawyer was working at 60 Minutes, and basically she's asking Michael Eisner the question while they're watching this, like a test reel of Oliver and Company, can you guys afford to keep making movies like this? And he's just basically like, no, we're going to keep doing it anyway. We have to do it in this company, because that's our legacy. And say what you will about Michael Eisner, especially during his latter years, you could tell that he and Jeffrey Katzenberg and Frank, who was the head of Disney at the time, Frank Wells, like, they wanted Disney to be successful. They were willing to do whatever it takes. They were willing to do whatever they could to get the Disney film industry back on track in general, and it paid off in the end. All these great Disney animated classics they were making. You see all the behind-the-scenes troubles going on with the stuff with Beauty and the Beast. You see the stuff that was going on, the feud between Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg when Wells died before Lion King came out, and Jeffrey Katzenberg made himself the focus of the marketing and all. And you know, you have that great moment in there where Jeffrey Katzenberg, when they were talking about the Lion King and Pocahontas, you know, he was hailing Pocahontas as West Side Story with Indians. It's going to be the hit of the century. And The Lion King, kind of an experiment. I don't think anybody's going to want to see it. And that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is the same man that decided to give us Quibi. You know, that place where he wanted Gal Gadot to literally do Jane Fonda workout videos. I swear to God, this is 100% true. There was someone out there where he literally went to Gal Gadot and said, you know what, well, you know, Jane Fonda did these workout tapes. Can you do the same thing for us with this? And just like, yeah, you can see why Quibi didn't work out so well. But then again, he'd made DreamWorks, so it kind of evened itself out in the end. But you get an idea. Of course, Pocahontas went on to become the film that nobody really wanted to go see. Lion King went on to become the blockbuster that it is. And that's one of the most fascinating things about this documentary, per se, is that it really does give you some insight of what these people were going through. And it never feels like they're just phoning it in. It never feels like they're doing this because they're just doing it for the camera and all that. Everything they're doing in here makes it feels realistic. It feels like you're actually in the middle of this whole thing, and you understand what everyone was going through. And it just works incredibly well. I think the reason why I love this more than any other documentary is because it is one of those great stories of how one of the Institutes of American Society almost went away forever. There was a point they talk about in there how somebody from within was literally going to buy Disney and then chop it up and then sell it out for scraps. And you know, it's not unlike what's going on with Warner Brothers, if you saw the news this week. But it's okay though. Disney said that they weren't going to do the same thing they did to Warner Brothers, which, why the hell did you shut down the international cable channels? I'm just saying. But they had this point where, I mean, they had this dark point where they got beat up by the Care Bears movie, for God's sakes. And if anyone out there ever says, oh, these live-action remakes are Disney's biggest disasters, losing to a greeting card in 1985 when you're supposed to be the king of animation, that's the darkest day in Disney history. No matter what anybody says, that's the low point of Disney's history overall. And you go from that to having this incredible comeback, and Don Hahn does a very good job of handling this, putting in the archival home movies and archive clips, and having people that were involved in this talking talking through this without them being in front of the camera. I wish more documentaries did that. I'm glad to see that some of them are doing that now. Not all of them, but they're starting to follow in the same format. He did the same thing with the Howard Ashman documentary that came out around COVID. But yeah, it's another great documentary you should check out. But this is a really, really good movie, and I can't recommend this one enough. If you've ever grown up with Disney and want to learn more about the history of the studio, you got to check this one out. Even if you can't find the DVD somewhere, it's available on Disney+. Watch it. It's a great movie. I can't recommend this one enough. Waking Sleeping Beauty. Definitely a great, great documentary. One of my favorite documentaries of all time. What more can you say, man? Waking Sleeping Beauty.